most of our why questions will never be answered on this side of glory. And I think for good reason, because it makes me trust him. It pushes me. I don't know why, but I'm going to trust you anyway.
This is Ask Dr. E, where Dr. Michael Easley answers your biblical or theological questions in 10 minutes or less. Today's question comes from Sheila. She writes, I have chronic pain from chemotherapy damage to my nerves. Is there one thing that you learned in your 3-year study of Job that helped you with chronic pain?
It just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of people that struggle in, our own family system and friends world. And so you read this and you just, I can't say one, but I'm going to give 3 practical, and then I'm going to give some observations that I learned in Job.
Okay.
Number one, you have to be your own advocate in any chronic situation, long-term undiagnosed illness. Because of the pressures on the healthcare system, the men and women who are wonderful people can't give you the attention and the involvement in your situation like they once did, unless you're fortunate to have a really good primary care physician. It's delegated to PAs and NPs, which is not the end of the world, but it's what you work with. So the internet is a dangerous thing, but you can read NIH, you can read Mayo Clinic, you can read Cleveland Clinic, and there's some good information out there about your particular diagnosis. Secondly, you try one thing at a time. One of the mistakes I made early on was doing so many different modalities and treatments and medications. You don't know what's helping and hurting. And it took me about 2 years to say, wait, do one thing for a while and see if there's efficacy, even medication. I remember this one doctor who gave me all these pain drugs. And I said, how do I know if this is helping? And he just looked at me when he was doing his records like I was crazy. He prescribes drugs. So you have to be your own advocate. And I would add to that, when you see your medical personnel, take some donuts, take a fruit basket.
You're really good at that.
Ask them, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Because if you care about the people that are supposed to care about you, you'll get better care.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gaming the system, if it's being genuine. Be nice to the people who have the ability to
help you. Yeah.
I've been there with angry patients. Angry at the check-in, angry at the nurse. Do you want to help that person?
No.
So just common sense. And then probably my mantra, a terrible word for a Christian, is just do the next thing. You have to do that. You have to get up in the morning. You have to get showered. You have to get dressed. You have to put your makeup on, shave your face, your preference. You have to do a load of laundry, make something to eat, make the bed. Just do the next thing. Yeah. And there's something therapeutic in that. For me, getting to my office chair is the longest part of my day. It's just uncomfortable, and you can get into a pity party. So those are some 3 things that have helped me. Now, let's talk about maybe the more important part, the spiritual part, because we are fallen creatures and our bodies are in trouble. Job, the biggest thing Job taught me was glimpses of faith in the midst of doubt. Becomes glimpses of doubt in the midst of faith. So when Job starts out, everything's hunky-dory. And when the trauma, the death of his children, his sores, all that happens in this cascade of events, he goes from a guy that was a good man, a righteous man, to a guy who's in this huge chasm midst of doubt. Everything around him is, where is God? Do I believe you? I'm in trouble. Why? And he has some glimpses of faith, but his life is this cauldron of doubt. Most of us, with diagnoses, with long-term illnesses, MS, whatever, you're in this morass of what if, why, how do I get out of it? Little glimpses. Through the storyline, his friends come in, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But as he grows through the process, and he finally, C.S. Lewis called it God in the dock. I like to put God on trial and ask him why this happened. What did I do wrong? Why me? All the questions a person may have in illness or disability. And God shows up, if you will, and says, pull up your pants. Let me talk to you like a man. And he unbraids him. Where were you when the morning star? Where were you when the sun came up? Where were you in the Leviathan? And he shows Job, you're nothing.
Yeah.
I'm the sovereign creator and sustainer of the universe, and you're asking me why? And that's when he says, I repent in dust and ashes. I retract, I repent in dust and ashes. I heard of you at the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. So the story of Job to me is this midst of doubt, glimpses of faith, to the midst of faith with glimpses of doubt. He's still at the end, and God restores his fortunes, but if you buried children,
nothing's going to replace.
Having more children isn't going to replace that,
right.
Solve that grief. It's a blessing, but that's not the point of the story to me. The point of the story is, here's a man that went through hell and back, and at the end, he is righteous in his, you're God, I'm not, and I should praise you for that. So it's a long game. She only asked for one, but I'm going to give 5 total. Secondly, watch out for sorry comforters. I don't mean to be unkind. Well-intentioned people will give you really bad advice. Well-intentioned people will recommend therapies and treatments and sometimes snake oil. They're well-intentioned. They know I have a bad chronic back, and they go, oh, I saw this article, and they got solved the back pain. Well, that's not my situation, but thank you very much. Well, I went to this doctor, and he healed my back pain. I have no more sciatica. Well, I know what that doctor does. And so you don't want to dismiss everything. And in my trying everything stage, you do go running around chiropractors. There's 3 different modalities of chiropractors. There's different surgeries. There's nerve blocks. There's different kinds of injections you can have. There's therapy. There's decompression tables. I mean, on and on and on it goes. Medication. Try this medication. Try that one. It's kind of dizzying. That goes back to being your own advocate. You do need people that are in your corner. And some of those sorry comforters can still be comforters. You can still be kind to them. Say, thanks so much, but I'm good. And invariably, we talk about my chronic pain on a podcast, or if I mention it in a message I preach somewhere, people are going to say, hey, I got this and it helped me. And I appreciate that, but you've got to have a filter to say, I'm good with my own advocacy trying to get help. Job is a long book, and that tells me something. It's the oldest book in the Bible. That tells me something. The oldest book in the Bible is a long book about why and pain and life not working out. But don't miss, it started great and it ends great. And I got to look at 1st and 2nd Adam. I got to look at the start of the Bible and the end of the Bible. That doesn't mean there's no joy or happiness or love in the storyline. It's a long book. It's about pain. It's about why. And I think that's the human condition for more people than not. For Job has a lot of unanswered questions. That tells me something. Most of our why questions will never be answered on this side of glory. And I think for good reason, because it makes me trust him. It pushes me, I don't know why, but I'm going to trust you anyway. And lastly, maturity is when you can accept that most of those why questions won't be resolved. Because there's a part of all of us, whether it's early diagnosis of MS or cancer or Alzheimer's or dementia or any Parkinson's disease, as you get older, your peers start cascading with these different problems, and you go, okay, what's going to happen to me? All these lifelong lessons, this long life, I look back on God's faithfulness, and your mom taught me this in one of my darkest chapters. You look back and see God's been faithful.
That's right.
Why wouldn't he still be faithful? So those are 5 lessons from Job, and maybe some other practical sugar on top.
Well, and I'm surprised you didn't say this, because what I have heard from you over the years is don't even worry about asking why. And sometimes in Christianese, we'll say, what are you trying to teach me, God? That's like our spin to it, And you would say, ask how. Lord, tell me how to do this well. How do you want me to live through this? How do you want me to conduct myself? And
I don't think I've ever asked why. I always ask how. How do I do this, Lord? How do I manage my family and friends that when I'm in pain and I want to be around them? How? And I think he does help you in that regard. But why? I'm a sinner that deserves hell. I got no footing to say why. And Job was a righteous man. And he had no footing to say why. So that's a good reminder.
All right. Well, if you've got a question for Dr. E, call us, text us, email us. The info is in your show notes.